Welcome back. Today we will be resuming the second half of Book 4 of Campfire Cooking. Chapter 4. I Want a Barbecue Grill. Mukoda had bought sweets as a thank you, dropping them off when he stopped by to collect payment for his dungeon loot. The good mood in the room didn't last long. Seizing the opportunity, Elrin boldly asked whether he could use some of the guild's funds to turn the dragon's tooth into a sword. What he received instead was a firm lecture from Ugol. The sub-guildmaster shut the idea down immediately, telling Elrin to commission one of Dolan's local blacksmiths rather than waste money on some famed specialist. Dolan was a dungeon town. Its craftsmen were more than capable when it came to weapons. The comment caught Mokuda's attention. If the local smiths were that skilled, would any of them be willing to make a grill? Ugol tempered his expectations quickly. In a town like Dolan, nearly every blacksmith specialized in weaponry. He couldn't promise anybody would agree to take on a cooking project. Finding someone willing to craft one proves difficult. Several blacksmiths outright throw him out the moment they learn he wants a non-weapon. Apparently asking a dungeon townsmith to make cooking equipment is borderline insulting. Mukoda begins to wonder if dwarves truly live up to the fantasy stereotype, so he changes tactics. At the next shop, he leads with blueprints, clean, detailed, thoroughly prepared, and then he produces a bottle of Japanese whiskey. The dwarf takes one sip, and everything changes. After some heated bargaining and quite a few bits of sampling, the dwarf reluctantly agrees to take the job. The price? 350 gold and 10 bottles of that miraculous liquor. Mukoda walks away feeling like he's just survived a battle. By the time negotiations end, it's dinner. Tonight's main dish is oven-roasted cockatrice. Mukoda had been waiting to use the oven feature more often, and this is the perfect excuse. The bird comes out beautifully browned and stuffed, and the meat tender and flavorful. Everybody approves. Desserts follow, of course. As they eat, inspiration strikes again. Mukoda asks Sue to make him a large mithril frying pan. Sue, already familiar with the shape, produces it instantly. It's perfect, lightweight, beautifully formed, exactly the size Mukoda imagined. He tries cooking with it. Nothing happens. The pan doesn't heat up. After checking the item description, Mukoda discovers the problem. Mithril does not conduct heat. It's flawless and completely useless. With a sigh, he hands it back to Sue to remake it into some cups and bowls instead. If it doesn't conduct heat, then it's ideal for keeping cold drinks. To celebrate the salvage operation, Mukoda buys everybody sodas. The evening winds down peacefully, for once. Before bed, Mukoda prepares his offerings. He had been right to worry how the gods would react to his newly unlocked sweet shop. The complaints begin immediately and escalate quickly into demands that he level up to 40 as soon as possible to unlock more options. Mukoda calmly explains, leveling requires fighting, and fighting requires danger. If they insist on pushing him into danger, he will return their blessings. That gets them to back off, temporarily. After some familiar back-and-forth bargaining, their monthly allowances are increased to 6 silver coins each. They've played the game enough time to understand how his online supermarket works. They practically peer over his shoulder while selecting items. Offerings complete, Mukoda finally goes to sleep, but 2 gods are still wide awake. Hephaestus and Vaughn know Mukoda rarely checks his status screen, so they quietly add a new skill, double experience. If he levels faster, he'll reach 40 sooner, and if he reaches 40 sooner, they'll get a larger liquor catalog. Petty? Absolutely. Effective? Very. Mukoda delays his departure from the city to wait for the grill. He stocks up on food for the road and purchases a promised alcohol for the dwarf. When he returns to the shop, the grill is finished. It's perfect. The charcoal tray slides out like a drawer. The ventilation is excellent. The construction is sturdy but elegant, and somehow cheaper than expected. Mukoda happily hands over 300 gold and the alcohol. The dwarf practically rubs his face against the bottle and rattles the coin pouch in delight. If the payment is short, he jokes, he'll just come collect it at Mukoda's place. Then he squints. He recognizes him as the dungeon conqueror. Mukoda flinches at his growing reputation. The blacksmith, who specializes in swords, asks if he found any rare crafting material in the dungeon. Mukoda casually mentions selling most of them to the guild, and that they still have a dragon's fang. The dwarf's eyes gleam, and Mukoda gently suggests that the guild might have a special job for him soon. The smith quickly changes the subject and suggests testing the grill immediately. They haul it to the weapons testing yard, normally used for striking training dummies. Forge coals are repurposed. Homemade sausages hit the grate. The familiars join. There's meat, alcohol, and laughter. For a moment, it feels less like business and more like a small celebration. The next day, Mukoda informs the guild that he plans to leave town. They thank him for the pound cake he delivered earlier, and just as he is about to walk away, Elrin suddenly shouts, "Don't forget our promise." The promise to bring any dragon he slays directly to him. Mukoda instinctively hides behind Fel, creeped out as always. Before departure, Mukoda commissions additional mithril kitchenware. While Fel and Dora go hunting, he puts the new grinder components to work. The upgraded parts function perfectly. He produces an almost absurd quantities of sausages. Just as he prepares for a taste test, Fel and Dora return. Fel, proudly wearing the medium-sized magic bag around his neck, dumps their haul to the ground. A gray rhino, a saber-toothed tiger, and several bird monsters. Fel growls at Mukoda for trying to eat before them. Mukoda snaps back, asking if the rhino and tiger are even edible. Dora burst out laughing. Nope. Interlude. The three heroes escape from the kingdom Part 2. The next assignment seems mercifully simple. Just one monster this time. After everything that they've been carrying in their chest, fear, suspicion, guilt, they're grateful for something straightforward. The fight ends quickly. Too quickly. The scent of fresh blood spreads through the forest, and something answers it. A great wolf. A- rank. All three of them feel it instantly. The weight of the monster's presence. The quiet understanding that even at full strength it will take all 6 of them to bring something like this down safely. And they are not at full strength. The wolf moves first. A blade of compressed wind tears through the air with no warning. No time to dodge. No time to shout. Rio's scream is cut short as her left arm is severed cleanly from the elbow down, and she collapses. But something else falls with it. The bracelet. For a heartbeat, none of them breathe, and then Kaito moves. This is the opening they've been looking for. He and Kanon unleash fire magic into the surrounding bush, not to attack, but to blind. Smoke surges upward, thick and choking, swallowing the battlefield in seconds. They grab Rio, and they run. West. Towards the next country. Towards uncertainty. Behind them lies the kingdom that summoned them. The kingdom that chained them. The kingdom that is clearly preparing for war. They will not fight it. Not after everything. Not like this. They run, praying that no one recognizes them. Praying that no one discovers they are otherworlders. Praying that the smoke buys them just enough time. They don't stop until nightfall. Their refuge is a massive ancient tree with a hollow large enough to hide inside. It's cramped, but it's shelter. Rio wakes to the sight of her friends hovering over her. Her eyes are clear, free. Kaito asks gently if she remembers anything. She nods. Her voice thin as she explains that it was like watching a movie. She saw everything, heard everything, but she couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She couldn't fight it. 3 days. 3 days of being trapped inside of herself. Kaito and Kanon tell her about the escape plan. About heading west. About leaving the kingdom behind. Rio looks down at the empty space where her arm used to be. Shame flickers across her face. She tries to push them away with words instead. "I'll just slow you down." Kanon immediately shuts that down. Kaito's expression hardens in quiet agreement. They tell her plainly that she's not a burden. She never was. That night, after the girls fall asleep from exhaustion, Kaito remains awake. He listens to the forest. He grips his weapon, and he makes a silent promise. No more running blindly. No more trusting easily. No more losing pieces of the people beside him. Whatever comes next, he will protect them. Chapter 5. Arrival at the town of Neof. Mukoda and his familiars are properly seen off when they leave Dolan. Elrin, as expected, makes far too much of a spectacle out of it. He's waving, shouting. There's one last overly dramatic declaration about dragons. Ugol is far more practical. Simply informs Mokuda of the next town, Neof. It specializes in pottery. Mukoda smiles at that. Weapons were useful, but pottery? Sounds like fun. The journey takes 5 days. Along the way, something new begins to happen. Merchant caravans start deliberately setting up camp near Mokuda's party. Adventurous, too. Words have clearly spread. He's polite. He doesn't cause trouble. And most importantly, he travels with a Fenrir. Even if Fel isn't actively guarding anybody, simply having a legendary beast nearby keeps monsters away from the road. It's unofficial protection, and everybody knows it. Mukoda notices. But as long as they keep a respectful distance and don't intrude, he doesn't mind. If anything, it's strangely comforting to see how his presence offers safety to others. Neof is smaller than Dolan, but no less lively. Workshops line the streets. Kilns glow. The scent of clay being fired into pottery hangs thick in the air. Everywhere he looks, artisans are shaping, carving, glazing. It feels creative, grounded, warm. They don't even make it far into town before being intercepted. The guildmaster is waiting. Guildmaster Yorn, a short, elderly man with a long beard and a hermit-like presence. His sharp eyes immediately land on Fel. A Fenrir, he says calmly. Recognizing Fel at a glance means one thing. Yorn is no ordinary man. He doesn't waste time. There's a Cyclops disturbing the quarry where the town secures its clay, and the forest, monstrous plants have taken root in the area where townsfolk gather kindling for their kilns. Danger threatens their livelihood. Mukoda glances at Fel, and Fel nods. They accept the job. Tomorrow. Before anything else, Mukoda asks about renting a house. No inn would allow Fel inside, not at that size. And even most stables are too small to accommodate him comfortably. Yorin agrees. It's the sensible choice, and offers to send a letter of introduction to the Merchants Guild. The letter works wonders. At the Merchants Guild, Submaster Domenico, a large, well-built man with a surprisingly courteous manner, personally escorts Mukoda to 3 properties. Each house is more impressive than the last. 2 are good, but 1 is perfect. It sits near the center of town, conveniently close to both guilds. It boasts a beautiful garden, a spiral staircase, an enormous bath, and a kitchen spacious enough to make Mukoda's heart skip. The rent is steep, 60 gold per week. But thanks to his dungeon hall and his overpowered familiars, money isn't a concern. He signs immediately. Dinner comes quickly. Mukoda wastes no time testing the kitchen. Tonight's menu is something deeply personal. Spicy curry. He's avoided making it until now. The aroma is so strong, powerful enough to travel. In the forest, it might attract monsters. In town, curious neighbors. But here, in a rented house with solid walls and a distance from the road, it's safe. As he cooks, his old training as a sous chef returns instinctively. The rhythm of chopping, stirring, layering flavors. The scent builds and spread, rich and warm. Soon the familiars gather. He makes multiple variations, mild, extra spicy, some topped with egg. They devour it enthusiastically, as always. Mukoda eats his own portion slowly, savoring it. There's a flicker of regret that he didn't make more. Still, sharing something this personal with them makes him quite happy. The bath is everything he hoped for. Floor to ceiling polished stone, magic lights warming the room, steam rising in soft clouds. It's been a month since Fell's last proper bath, and now he smells like curry. Fell begrudgingly allows himself to be washed. His complaints end quickly once Mukoda applies proper scrubbing force. After drying off, Fell heads back to bed, with dignity restored. Mukoda, Dora, and Sue soak in the tub together afterwards. The warmth sinks deep into tired muscles. Without saying it out loud, they all silently agree. This is happening every night. Just before bed, Mukoda remembers his offerings. He clasps his hands in prayer. The gods respond instantly. Ninrir demands limited-time cakes. Kisharl requests fruit-scented face lotion. Agni wants premium and black beer. Ruka also gets cakes. Hephaestus and Vaughn order domestic and American whiskey. But the boys notice something. Mukoda hasn't leveled up. He admits somewhat sheepishly that he avoids fighting whenever possible. They don't scold them, but they do warn him. Avoiding danger is natural, but in this world, when no one is around to protect you, when things go wrong, you need to be able to stand on your own. Mukoda listens. He understands. As he lies down in his new rented home, warm from the bath and satisfied from curry, he realizes something. He's having a good time. Life right now feels comfortable, but the world is still dangerous, and for his own sake, he needs to try a little harder. Chapter 6. Request from the Guildmaster of Niehoff. The job begins in the western forest. The moment they step beneath the canopy, Fell's ears twitch. There are hundreds, he says flatly. Mukoda doesn't doubt him for a second. They split into 2 teams. Fell and Dora will take the magic bag and handle the majority of the enemies. Mukoda and Sue will clean up the rest. Mukoda smiles faintly. He has a secret weapon this time. Herbicide spray. The forest doesn't stay quiet for long. The ground trembles. Leaves rustle violently. And then they appear. Giant plant monsters resembling enormous Venus flytraps, snapping and swaying as they advance. They swarm. Sue's acid melts through thick stems and snapping maws with ruthless efficiency. Mukoda follows up with the herbicide spray, watching with deep satisfaction as the monstrous plants shrivel and collapse. It's exhausting work. 3 hours pass before the last of them fall. Mukoda's breathing hard. His arms ache. He's not used to this much sustained activity. Sue, meanwhile, is practically vibrating with energy. When they tallied the results, Mukoda had taken down 100 plant monsters, and Sue had defeated twice that. Mukoda remembers Vaughn's warning about relying too much on others, about needing to stand on his own when it matters. He takes it seriously. A quick inventory check reveals 16 magic stones. Fell and Dora returns soon after, casually emptying the magic bag. 48 more stones spill onto the ground. Fell scans the forest one last time. No more hostile plants. Sue, bouncing excitedly, wants more fighting. So the next target becomes clear. The Cyclops. That evening, dinner consists of the last of the leftovers from Dolan. It's simple, familiar. Dora surprisingly produces few leftover cakes from his stash. After a brief internal struggle, he shares them with everybody. The gesture is small but genuine. Mukoda smiles at the unexpected generosity and quietly adds more cakes to the spread for dessert. Sometimes kindness multiplies that way. The next morning, they head to the quarry. The Cyclops is enormous. Its footsteps shake the stones beneath him. Mukoda raises his hands before anybody can charge in. Don't damage it too much. The parts are valuable, and they need proof of the kill. And frankly, he looks directly at Fell, he doesn't fully trust them to show restraint. Fell's pride takes a hit. Without word, he launches himself forward. In one fluid motion, he leaps onto the Cyclops' shoulders and releases a precise shock straight into its skull. Dora follows with a bolt of lightning through its heart. Sue fires a focused stream of acid, boring a neat 2-centimeter hole through its abdomen. The Cyclops collapses, intact. Mukoda blinks. They actually listened. It's barely noon, but they decide to celebrate with lunch before returning to town. Today's meal is meat-wrapped rice balls and cake as a reward for not disintegrating the target. As they eat, Fell's eyes narrow. Sue has evolved. Mukoda quickly checks the status. Huge slime, level 1. The reset startles him, but the stat increase is undeniable. Fell explains that some beings evolve while others simply grow stronger. Humans and powerful monsters can exceed level 100 without changing form, but certain monsters like slimes evolve at level 100 and then reset to level 1. They gain improved abilities each time. Mukoda glances at Fell's status, level 921. Is 999 the max? Yes, Fell says, then pauses. Though there's a legend. A Fenrir who lived 10,000 years supposedly surpassed level 1,000. One day, bored with the world, it crossed the ocean in search of something new. Mukoda sneezes at that. The ocean? Fell's expression darkens. No one crosses the ocean. The monsters there are beyond reason. Even I wouldn't attempt it. That shuts down the topic quickly. They turn to see Dora, asleep mid-meal, belly up, mouth open, completely undignified. Mukoda and Fell share a rare laugh. Fell remarks that pixie dragons are strange creatures, solitary, picky eaters, and notoriously temperamental. But Dora, Fell adds, is strange even for one of them. That, at least, is undeniable. Later, while they rest, Mukoda checks his own stats. He freezes. Level 30. That's faster than expected. And then he sees it. Double experience. He doesn't remember acquiring that. He asks Fell to confirm. Fell scans him and shrugs. A gift from the gods, most likely. Don't worry about it. Mukoda does worry about it. He doesn't like abilities being added to him without his knowledge. And Fell tilts his head. Most people would sell their soul for a skill like that. Mukoda knows he's right. In this world, strength is survival. Still, the next time he speaks to the gods, he has a few things to say. Extra chapter, Mukoda's village revitalization. On the road to Neof, Mukoda and his familiars make a brief stop in a small village called Merla. The place is known for its honey. That's all Mukoda needed to hear. He samples it. It's good. He buys some, and then he buys some more, and then he buys far too much. As he leaves with several jars, a curious villager quietly follows him at a distance. The man watches as Mukoda returns to his rented house and begins cooking, using a generous amount of that honey. The scent alone is enough to spark questions. The next morning, Mukoda receives visitors. The village chief arrives at the door and promptly drops to his knees. Merla is in trouble. For generations, their honey has sustained the village, but recently sales have plummeted. The larger town of Open Tree has monetized its beekeeping methods. Their honey is clearer, smoother, more refined, better. The villagers pooled their money to purchase a jar of Open Tree's honey, and they offered it to Mukoda to taste. He does, and winces. They're right. It's undeniably superior. In this world, honey is eaten straight, or stirred into tea. That's it. No innovation, no variation, no creativity. But yesterday, somebody saw him cooking with it, using it, transforming it. The chief bows again and begs him to teach them something, anything that might help them compete. Mukoda sighs. He can't just ignore that. A few days later, he returns to the village with 2 demonstrations prepared. The first is a drink. Honey lemon water. Sweet, refreshing, perfect for hot afternoons. Simple ingredients, easy to make, immediately appealing. The second dish is chicken ham glazed lightly with honey. The balance of savory and sweet surprises them. The women especially latch onto it. The recipe is simple, adaptable, something they can replicate at home and in their shops. It isn't complicated, and that's the point. When the tasting ends, the chief once again lowers himself to the ground, nearly prostrating himself in gratitude. He declares that Mukoda had saved the village. Mukoda, deeply uncomfortable with the worshipping tone, accepts the 2 gold offered for his trouble, and then immediately turns around and spends it on more honey. 6 months pass, and in the town of Carolina, Mukoda happens to visit Lambert. Lambert is mid-bite, enjoying a thick slice of honey toast. He enthusiastically praises the recent shipment he acquired from a small village called Merla. Apparently, their honey had become quite popular. Mukoda blinks. He never taught them honey toast. They figured that one out themselves. And that realization brings him something unexpected. Relief. He didn't save them. He just gave them a nudge. And they did the rest. Thank you for joining me for Book 4. I'll have notes on Book 5 eventually.